Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Five Live Bears podcast. Louisville's best podcast, as voted by you, the fans. All 5 of you.
Thank you.
Yes.
There's more than that.
I know.
We got more fans
There's
than that.
There's at least 12.
There's 12 or 13 of us.
Yeah, we got to be pushing close to
My
13.
mom loves us.
My mom
Actually,
does
my mom
too.
doesn't. It's my dad. My mom's like, what?
Your dad? I
Yeah.
really wouldn't expect your dad to love us.
Yeah, my dad's big time on it. He listens about once every 3 months or so.
Anyways, we are so glad that you are taking the time to let us talk to you about all the stuff that we find interesting. We hope that you as well find interesting. Again, we are the Five Live Bears podcast. Around the room, how's everybody doing? Everybody's here this week. It is a full house, all Bears on hand. Yes, sir. Brian, how are you, buddy?
Doing fantastic, Tim. Excited to be here tonight.
Let me set the mood for you. We are on YouTube if you'd like to check us out. But if you're not, Brian is wearing a Captain America hat, an Ant-Man shirt, camo shorts, and green socks. Not even green, pink socks.
These
Like,
are
oh,
pink.
my gosh, what's wrong with
These
me?
are pink.
Pink socks. Sorry about that.
Today is Oaks Day.
It
In
is.
honor
It
of all
is.
the-
It is.
on all
I
the
forgot
ladies
about that.
battling
Yeah,
breast
it is
cancer,
Oaks.
so.
Charlie is wearing a Boston Bruins hockey hat and a nerd shirt. It's pretty awesome. Charlie, how are you, buddy?
I'm not doing too awful. How are you, Tim?
That's a very, very nice way of saying it. Doing great.
I didn't discuss this with you guys, but a real quick plug for a local business.
Uh-oh. Charlie's got a plug.
Okay, so I
eat
try not
Cappy
to eat
Dough.
a lot of sweets, but I do get a cheat meal once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the local bakery. It's called the Bourbon Bakery. There's no bourbon involved, and it's spelled Baekery. Find her on Instagram. These cookies are the size of my face, and they are amazing. My favorite one is the Biggie Smalls. It is a giant cookie. I'm not kidding. It is that big around for those watching, and that thick, and it is filled with mini M&Ms.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it just. I would I recommend all of them. I've not tried all the flavors, but please look
Do they
that
have
up.
sugar cookies? I love sugar cookies.
Currently, no, but like she's got one that's a
Similar.
snickerdoodle. It's called Cinnamon Rolex. She's got one
Cinnamon Rolex.
called Cream Cookies Roll Everything Around Me. It's cookies and cream.
That is good.
There's a seasonal one that's gone for now. It's the Excellent, and it has a full Reese's egg in the cookie, and it's topped with Reese's Pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
Charlie's making us all hungry right now.
It's fantastic. So look her up on Instagram and get those cookies.
All right, there you go. Charlie with a plug. John, how are you? Let me set the mood. John's wearing his Cincinnati Reds gear. He is full Reds.
Yeah, well, I mean, see, the best thing about being a Cincinnati Reds fan is you can basically, at this point in the year, you can already stop watching
Hey,
baseball.
your top prospect pitching tonight.
Oh, is he? Yeah. I'm not going to catch the game, so it doesn't matter. I'm a Reds fan in the newspaper is what I am. I look at the line scores and stuff like that when I get a chance. But
What's a newspaper?
yeah, well, online then. I mean, you don't do that. I'm doing good though.
On the
Good.
interwebs.
And Aaron, I can't see you. You're in Texas, so
And
you
red
can
shorts
always
and a polo shirt.
tell us what you're wearing if you'd like. But how are you?
Hey guys, I'm excited. First Saturday in May tomorrow, and you know what that means? It's Free Comic Book Day,
Yay.
which I know is what everybody in Kentucky's thinking about. Free Comic Book Day is
That's right.
tomorrow, first Saturday in May, every year. I'm also excited about the atrocious Sonic the Hedgehog movie trailer we got this week. I've watched it several times. It is dreadful.
You just want to subject yourself to it?
We'll 8-ball that later tonight. We'll let the magic 8-ball decide.
Well, I just want to make one quick comment about it. Is they're going to
26
fix the
minutes
movie, like make it look better. Some of the plot details have leaked, and at the beginning of the movie, Sonic arrives on Earth as a baby and is raised by an owl. All that happened in the video game.
Is this how we're explaining
So
race
this movie
parents?
is going to be a train wreck. So
Thank you, Aaron, as always. Thank you. Without you, Aaron, we would not be a podcast. Let me tell you.
This podcast would be like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was. What are you talking about?
Before Tim and Aaron joined us, we were like, "Hey, hi,
What's up?
I like G.I.
Oh
Joe."
my gosh,
That was it.
This
That was the whole
this
thing.
was my whole life. Aaron would just walk in randomly in the house, his children, and be like, "Hey guys, Sonic the Hedgehog was raised by owls." And just leave. I'm like, what? Anyways. But we're glad you're here tonight. I'm glad everybody's doing well. This is a podcast I've been looking forward to Tonight we are going to be talking about Marvel's Avengers Endgame. We've all seen it except for Charlie. Personal choice. He didn't go see it. It's all right.
It's not because I didn't like the first one, as is well documented. It's the fact that I am a man of a certain age, and I drink usually a half a pot of coffee, an energy drink, and a gallon of water a day. In 3 hours' time, I would miss probably a good 30 minutes of the movie going up to the restroom.
And in Charlie's defense, also, I'll just say this: the only reason I've seen it is because Carla took me at gunpoint to see it on Sunday. Okay, I probably would not have been able to see it yet because of just school and everything like that. So we actually etched out a little bit of time Sunday night to go see it, and saw one of the greatest Spider-Man cosplayers of all time there.
I'm getting there. I'm getting the theater experience. We're going to set that up here in a second.
Okay. I was
but
psyched.
For those of you who are listening, we are going to be discussing Endgame. We are going to be talking about spoilers. So if you have not seen it and you do not want to be spoiled, this is not the podcast for you. Go ahead and leave us 5 stars and get out of here. Because we're talking about spoilers for
This is your spoiler
Endgame.
alert.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a satisfying experience Marvel Endgame was for me, at least. But before we do that, let's just talk for a minute. How was your movie theater experience? John, you kind of hinted at it. Go ahead. Tell us the experience.
Well, I mean, overall, the experience wasn't too bad. It was 6 o'clock on a Sunday evening. We had tried to get tickets all day. I mean, we had church in the morning, so after church we were and the problem with it is that church was they're all the kids, some of the kids have seen it, and even one of the guys that works with us in middle school had seen it. He was like, "Oh man," I was like, "Stop it,
Shut your mouth.
stop it, Kyle, just stop talking," because he was like, and I was like, most of the day. So the funny thing about it was that the night before is Carla was trying to get his tickets. I was texting Brian. I was like, because I didn't know if he was going to be, hadn't seen it yet. And we were like, "Hey man, you want to go with us?" And he was like, we couldn't get a hold of him. So while I'm trying to get a hold of him, Carla's like watching the ticket count, and her eyes are getting bigger. She's like, "We're gonna have to go to a later show." And so we wound up like in a 6:30 showing out at Preston Highway.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it was really a laid back crowd. I mean, there was really not a whole lot of craziness. No, it was almost like most of the people there had already seen it once and had come back to see it again, except for this one guy and Susie. And I'll see if I can get, if she still has the video. We'll post it on our Facebook page. But she was like, "Look over there." And there was this dude dressed up like Spider-Man.
That was me.
It wasn't. Was you? And the thing about it was she was sitting there watching him. She kept looking. She said, "He looks like the Peter Parker from the Spider-Verse."
Peter B. Parker.
Yeah, Peter B. Parker from the Spider-Verse. And but he was cool because, and then she started crying because these little kids walked up to him, started talking to him. He was taking pictures with them, and stuff like that. And then he went and bought him a giant bucket of popcorn and a Coke. And
Did he lift up his mat just barely?
then he disappeared. But throughout the movie, I mean, people were, and I don't know if it was because they'd seen it before. And I hate to say it's about movies, but I guess you have to because we kind of had the same experience when to see Star Wars a while back. Is it wasn't a rambunctious crowd. It was people were really almost like there was this sense of kind of reverence to they understood the gravity of the situation, that this was the end of a 10-year odyssey for people, especially for people like us who were old enough to. I mean, like Susie's like whatever. She was born in 2003. She wouldn't even old enough to see Iron Man when it came out. So for us, it was really the end of a journey, and I think that was as much the emotional part of it as the actual events that took place in the movie. But good. It was a good experience. Nobody was crazy.
That's good.
Except for the kids next to us that were making out. His dad kept saying, "I can't see you over this wall. I can't see you over this wall." But it was all right. It was cool.
Aaron, how was Texas? How was the Texas experience?
Bigger.
We actually went with some friends from church. I was trying to be sociable, for once. Yeah, we had a good experience overall.
That friendship's over. Sorry,
I
Aaron.
tried it once. I didn't like it.
The only thing was, we'll talk about later, is towards the end of the film, there were people sobbing very loudly in the theater. Like, it was, you could barely hear the movie because people were crying so loud. So
By people, do you
Other
mean
than that-
yourself?
I couldn't hear the movie over myself crying.
yeah. I was like, oh.
All right. Brian, how was your experience, bud?
It was great. Took the girls out to Secret Cinema, and it was a 12:30
Yeah.
showing, and it was only about maybe halfway full, and so of course I'd given them the speech all the way out there, like, girls, this is a 3-hour and 1-minute movie. You go to the bathroom when we get there. You go to the bathroom 10 minutes before the movie starts, and then don't talk to me until it's over with.
That's that father-daughter
ask me who
bonding
these
thing.
people
And they literally were fantastic. They didn't move the whole time. They watched it. They loved it. It was great.
There you
I may
go.
or may not have been one of the people sobbing loudly. I don't know.
I went.
I didn't go that far.
I went Thursday night, opening night at Secret Cinemas. I went to the 7:00 showing. I got there at 6. I couldn't even get in the door. That's how crazy it was.
Which is weird for Secret Cinemas because usually you just
Right.
walk in and get your popcorn or your White Castles, whatever they're serving that
So
night.
they ended up taking us down the hallway and lining us up down the hallways of Secret Cinema, like by the other theaters. We got in. We couldn't get seats together. We ended up switching out to the 7:15 movie. I spilled nachos all over myself, but we got great seats. We didn't have anybody crazy around us or anything like that, and it was just an awesome movie experience. Besides the oh my gosh, I'm an hour before and it's already like this. I was like 75%.
We got there right at an hour before, and we sat out in the lobby for probably 25 minutes because I got excited and I ran up and opened the door of the theater and it was still
You
playing.
almost got the whole ending.
I looked at Carla and Susie. I was like, "Go back, go back, go back!" And people were like, "What?" And I was like, "No, it's not over yet. It's not over yet." So we sit out there and watch Spider-Man try to climb up walls and eat popcorn and all that stuff.
All right, so I'm glad everybody got a good experience. I hope when Charlie gets to see it, it's a great experience for him as well. He did say the movie got spoiled for him Saturday morning by the news, so he's still kind of a little bit bitter about that. Have you recovered?
No, I mean, I was thinking about saying this. It doesn't matter what you guys say. It's not going to spoil it. It was spoiled for me on the freaking radio. I was listening to, for those of you that are local, WHAS. I'm listening to the radio on the way to work, and they're, Darby's this week, and, all doing that stuff, and they go to their news lady because she's a big Marvel fan, and they ask her opinion, and she goes, "No spoilers," and then tells all the spoilers. And then also those who watched the trailer that came out the week before the movie was released, it spoils the movie. There's a scene where they say, "Let's go back let's go back in time and get the Infinity Stones." Why would you put that in the trailer? I mean, that is a major plot point.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, I just-
dun, dun, dun.
Oh, there it is. I did not watch the last trailer. I'm glad I didn't. But all right, so let's just jump into the movie. For me, I loved it. I felt like it was just a perfect movie. I said before I'm going a little bit full fanboy, so I apologize in advance for fawning all over this movie. But I loved it. I really enjoyed it. I found it super satisfying, and I cannot wait to see it again. It was like me and my friends that went. They're all close age. They're a little bit younger than me and everything, and we all just left it, and we were just like, wow, loved it. It was great. The characters I thought were great together. I thought all of the original Avengers got a moment, and it was a big payoff for them. So for me, that's how I feel about it. We can jump into details here in a second. But John, overall thoughts before we jump into some of the details and the other parts of it.
When I left Sunday night, I felt I don't
You
know.
were conflicted.
I was conflicted. Yeah, that would be the best way to put it. I don't want to say I felt robbed or I was mad or anything like that. But I walked down. Carla was like, "What'd you think? What'd you think?" Because Carla is just all over it. She's like, "Oh, that was just great."
Carla and me.
Yeah, she is just all
Giddy.
over it. Anytime there's a funeral scene, she's just nuts. And I walked out. Me and Susie were kind of like walking together. We're just kind of like, yeah, it was all right. And I had to think about it. And even on the ride home, Carla got kind of mad at us because she's like, "I can't believe you sat through that and you don't think it's any good." I was like, "Well, I have to process this because this wasn't like some of the other movies. This, like even the original Iron Man or any of the other ones. This one really, to me, I had to really sit down later that evening and process out everything due to the fact that there was the time travel element in it. I mean, I literally was in the shower the next morning with some kind of red soap, drawing it on the wall. It was like, "No, this doesn't work. How does this work?" And Carla thought she was going to have me committed for a while because it was crazy. But once I got a little bit of distance from it and kind of worked it out in my mind, it is actually probably, in my book, it's probably one of the. I know this.
Say it.
It's probably one of the best movies I've seen. I mean, as far as that science fiction type of realm. I mean,
don't put any. Just say it. Just don't. You don't
Own
gotta
it, John.
share. Just
Just
own
own
it.
okay. I'll own it
Embrace
then.
it.
I'll own it then. Yeah, it was it's probably one of the better movies I've seen. I mean, and I'm not talking, and not because of what it necessarily was. It was just a well-made movie. I mean, it was a very well-made movie, and I'm psyched about it. I love it now because the more I talk about it, and like we've been talking about on Bear Chat, and some of the kids at school have seen it. Some of the people I know at school.
John started a fan club at school.
Well, the Power Geek group at school has all seen it, and you're in the Power Geek school or geek group at school. When I was standing there in the hallway yesterday morning, me and one of the science teachers were talking about it, and I said time travel, and as I said it, the kindergarten teacher walks in the hallway behind us. She goes, time travel.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, we're geeks now because that's what it was. Yeah, I loved it. I love that. I could talk about it all night.
Brian.
I'm in the same boat you are, Tim. I mean, I'm trying not to fall over myself about this movie, but I just thought it was amazing. There's something I had been waiting for since one of my movies came out, and they wrapped it up nicely for me at the end, and I was just like, yes, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. High on the mountain. This is awesome. And
Go rest.
that's right. That's right. That's all I could say.
All right, Aaron.
There's a lot that happens in this movie, and it like John said, it took a while to process it when it was all over, and tonally it almost feels like three different movies. Like you got the depressing end of the world section, you have the time heist section, then you have the final battle section, and so for me, I don't think it's the best Marvel movie, but it's by far the most spectacular Marvel movie I've seen, if that makes sense.
Okay, Aaron, good night. We'll see
We're
you.
down
We'll
to
talk.
4 bears now.
Yeah, we're down to it. That's it. Okay. Okay.
So real quick, just a general synopsis of the movie. We start off in a depressed world. Hawkeye's family. We get to see his family get just taken in front of him, and he's just broken. We end up 5 years into the future. The world still hasn't recovered. They don't know what to do. Black Widow is kind of holding together an Avengers Shield type initiative. Captain Marvel's out there fighting people in space. Black Panther's assistant, the girl from Walking Dead, she's holding down Wakanda. You got War Machine and Rocket and Nebula and all the different people.
Captain Marvel.
Oh, and by the way, Captain Marvel rescues Iron Man at the beginning from space. So they end up, Ant-Man ends up getting out of his out of the dimension, whatever it's called, quantum realm. And
you're skipping something important.
Go ahead, Aaron. Just take over.
Somebody's
Just
head
go,
gets
go,
chopped
Aaron.
off.
Well, no, I'm just
Oh
saying
no, I
they
did forget
go
that.
in
You
front
did
of
forget that.
Gosh, I
Thanos
skipped
before.
right over that. I skipped right
He
over
went,
that.
he went for the head, Tim.
Yeah.
Aaron, go for it. Take over.
I went
Take
for
over.
the head.
Before the 5-year jump. Before the 5-year jump.
Yeah, they figure out where Thanos is. Nebula's like, yeah, I know where he's at. And so Captain Marvel's like, yeah, let's go kill him. And so they all get in a ship and they go kill him. And they find a very weakened Thanos. And they find out the stones are gone and they straight up kill him.
Which was really
Shocking.
okay. I'm going to jump in on that one because the fact is that with to see it, these guys are not what you call killers. I mean, even like Captain America is there, and all of a sudden they come in and they lop his arm off first of all, and then they like proceed to just beat the crap
They
out of.
find out he's used the Infinity Gauntlet to destroy the Infinity Stone, so they cannot get them.
And then once they figured out that Thor comes out of nowhere and just lops his head off, and he's like, "I went for the head,"
and he just walks off.
and Captain America's like, "All right, yeah, we got this."
Yeah. So then we do the 5-year flash forward. I'm sorry, Aaron. So from there, go ahead, Aaron. Take over. Scott gets out of the quantum realm.
Yeah, a rat happens to free Scott. Scott shows up. He's like, I have this idea about, time travel. They tell Iron Man, and he's like, nope, I've got I'm married with Pepper. I've got a little kid.
Yep.
I don't want to screw all this up. So he's like, no, there's no way I'm doing this. But he can't get it out of his head. And so he figures out how to do the time travel.
And Pepper says, do it, because you won't rest until you do.
Right.
Yeah. Famous last words.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his daughter says, I love you times 3,000, or I love you 3,000.
An incredible amount of foreshadowing there.
It's tearful. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so he goes back and Iron Man's like, yeah, we'll do this, but you cannot erase my family. If we're going to change time, the rule is my daughter, I still have to have a family at the end of this. You cannot, change something to my daughter never be born or
You
something.
bring the people back to this time. You don't reset time. Basically,
Right.
Yeah, that's what they do.
So they have to kind of get everybody back together. So they go and they find Hawkeye, who's now Ronin, and he's just like killing people in Japan.
Which was awesome.
He's like on a
Which is
rampage.
absolutely
And
awesome.
he's got a sweet arm tat.
Oh.
All the way down.
And a really cool sword. I was really down for the sword.
I have one of those two.
Go ahead, Aaron. Aaron, do a quick 4-minute thing because we're going to have to jump to a break.
Okay. They go and get Thor, who has let himself go. He's super depressed. He's put on quite a bit of weight. And
But
he's
Mick
drunk all
was
the
there.
time.
And it's hilarious.
Mick was there.
Korg and Meek was there. Go ahead. I'm
They're
sorry.
playing Fortnite. He's threatening kids. It's great. They go and they get the Hulk, who's now Professor Hulk. Hulk and Banner have merged. He's now like super smart. He's accepted being the Hulk, and they're like
Does a
working
Hulk
together.
Dab.
That was awesome.
Hulk
Yeah, he
show.
dabs for some kids, and so they built this time device, and they're going to go to, I think it was 3 different time periods to get the stones back, and take the stones from the past, bring them back to the present, bring the people back, and then return the stones when they're done. So they split the teams. They go to different time periods, and everything starts going. Some of it goes right, some of it goes very, very wrong, very quickly. Just to speed things up, Thanos finds out about it due to Nebula. He takes out the good Nebula, replaces it with the Nebula from the past, and sends it back. Everybody brings the stones back. Hulk is the only one that can use the gauntlet because it will kill anybody else. He snaps his finger, brings everybody back, but then Thanos attacks and nukes the place. and
Which
then
is
a huge final
absolutely
battle
one of the
breaks
most
out.
kick
I
butt.
thought Ant-Man was dead.
I didn't know what was happening there because it was just insanity.
Aaron, let me speed this up for you. There's a huge fight. It's awesome. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the sling ring starts opening up portals, and everybody comes. I mean, everybody that got Vanished comes. All the Ravagers are there. Everybody's there. It's a great,
Howard the
crazy.
Duck's there.
Is Yondu
Valkyrie,
not dead now?
everybody.
No, Yondu's still dead. It's just people brought back by the snap. We skipped
We said
over
all the Ravagers.
We skipped over a huge part. Black Widow sacrificed herself. She died. It's just crazy stuff. We'll get into it more, but in the end, Tony has to take the gauntlet, snaps the finger, makes all of Thanos and his people vanish, and then Tony dies.
Because Pepper tells him.
And then Pepper tells him, "You can rest now." And great, powerful moment. Captain America takes it upon himself to take all the stones back into time to put them in the right place, but then he never comes back. He ends up coming back as an old man. He decided to stay with Peggy Carter and get that dance and live his life out without it, which was Brian's favorite
That's what
part.
That's the only part that don't make sense.
We'll get there. We'll get
That
there,
is the only
Aaron.
part that don't make sense.
But anyways, that is In War in a nutshell. We're gonna come
in,
back
in game.
In War. I am out of it. Green socks In War. It's craziness. But we'll come back. We're gonna talk about our favorite moments. We're gonna help John understand time travel. We're gonna
understand it. It just didn't make it. Just didn't make any sense.
No, remember, you ran time through him, not him through time. Just remember.
That's what.
anyways.
That's it.
Eddie's having a good time.
Hello. Welcome back to the Five Live Bears podcast. We are glad that you are hanging out with us tonight. We are talking about Marvel's Endgame. If you in the first half, if you were with us, which I'm sure you were, we did a quick recap of the show. We kind of talked about our initial feelings. So now we're going to just jump into some of our favorite parts. Again, we're going to talk about some of the time travel, try to maybe hash that out a little bit, because there are some parts that a lot of people had questions about. And then we're just going to finish up talking about the movie. So let's do this. Favorite couple scenes, favorite couple parts of the movie, Brian.
Oh, wow. The one that got me was Tony and Spidey hugging, like after Tony had said he had lost the kid.
Yeah.
That moment, and Spidey was like, "No, we've I passed out," and then Captain or Doctor Strange said, "We got to wake up, we got to go," and it was like, "What?" Like that. I thought that was great. And of course, being the Cap fan, seeing him there at the end as the old man, realizing that he got to have that dance with Peggy, that was I knew when Iron Man snapped the fingers, I knew Cap wasn't going to make it. they couldn't let those two go on, and so they had to figure out a
They
way
had to have an ending. Yeah.
They had to have a ending for Cap, and I thought it was great. But time travel thing I didn't really care about as far as that goes. I just wanted him to have that dance. So
Aaron, what are you doing?
neighbor's fence is on fire. Yeah.
Aaron, let's talk about your favorite parts.
The moment that the Hulk puts on the glove, the movie for me just goes insane. Like that next 30-minute chunk or however long it was just awesome.
It was good.
That and then I really like Nebula. Anytime Nebula was on the screen, it was great. She was just great throughout the whole movie. And her and Rocket, they're just awesome.
It's good. John, some stuff that really stood out to you really enjoyed?
All the scenes, almost every scene with it, I know this is not something y'all usually hear me say, but all the scenes with Ant-Man were brilliant. I mean, he was just absolutely there would not have been this movie without him, because it would have been so dark and glum for the most part without that character
He was
in
the
it.
humor.
I mean, they did really good with that. The
Just
scene,
real quick on Ant-Man. The thing that's still great about Ant-Man is he still gets around these people and is just like a normal human being would be around like superheroes. He's just so like awestruck. Like when Star-Lord's ship lands in the yard, and he's just like,
Nebula says, "Rhodey, watch out! There's an idiot on the landing field."
yeah. So he's still amazed by that. But go ahead. I'm sorry, your parts. Aaron, stop rubbing the phone across whatever you're
It's
doing.
his face.
He's growing the Thor beard right now.
The scene, I was laughing so hard when they were back in time and Ant-Man popped a squat and he was like, "Flick me." And he flicked the. That was one of the best. But I think the scene that, like Aaron was saying, that kind of just turned the movie for me is in that final battle. They're fighting back and forth. Thor gets knocked to the ground.
Yeah,
he reaches out
yeah.
for his. He reaches out for Mount Air and it comes flying. And you're like, all right, he's got, and it flies right past him, and it hits that glove,
Captain
and he pulls,
America.
and it's and you're like, oh no, because he pulls it back. You're like, oh no, because I'm not the world's. Me and Brian have this kind of. He's got his hat on. I got my helmet here in front of us today. I'm an Iron Man guy. He's a Captain America guy. But kudos got to go off to that one, because that was seriously one of the best scenes, because it was something I didn't expect to see, and to have him catch that, and the thing I liked about it was how Marvel always does this in movies. How even the small little things, they all interconnect, because Thor says, "I knew it."
Yeah.
And that goes back to Age of Ultron when he turned it on the table and Thor looks at him. And that's something that if you weren't careful, you were going to miss. But that just shows the attention to detail that the Marvel people put into these things. I mean, these are just not movies to them, I don't think. I mean, these are these kind of labors of love that you see for the fan. I mean, and after Iron Man 3, they got it right. I mean, they were like, no, we're going to do it right from this point forward. And they'd have. Final battle scene, last 30 minutes, was just amazing. It's the only part I almost teared up. I knew Iron Man was going to get it, so I was kind of like, I'll say it. I know it's not popular here in the basement, but I didn't like the Captain America send off so much. I didn't like that. It just kind of boggled my mind, I guess, a little bit the way they did it. I would have almost preferred to have seen him jump and then just never come back. And then they kind of faded off, and Bucky's got this. Yeah, I know where he's at. And there he is
And
in
they
the
could've did the
past.
dance
Yeah,
scene.
that would have been better to me than see him as like this old man, because that set up a time paradox
Well,
that didn't make sense to me. So
we read a pretty good article on that, and I'll let Aaron go full Aaron here in a minute and talk about the time travel. For me, some of the scenes that stood, I loved every scene with Thor. I just did. I loved the direction of Thor. There were so many callbacks to the past movies. They called Rocket a rabbit again. The other Asgardians did, which was great. I really liked what they did with Black Widow. I really thought they did a great job with her getting her redemption, but also her just struggling to move through it all with her hair. I just thought that was just something subtle but really nicely done. For me, the Mjolnir scene is awesome with Cap, but when he gets just beat down by Thanos, his shield is like shattered into pieces, and he stands up like I'm Captain America. I'm gonna fight to the end.
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, this is it. And all of a sudden you hear Falcon go on your left.
Yeah, that was just
In
I was
his
just
headset,
blew away.
and Cap just kind of looks around, and all of a sudden the portals just start opening, and you literally get like, for me, fanboy here, you literally get like goosebumps. It's like a thrilling moment. There, they just start walking through, and they just start like, you're just like,
Well, and
yes!
that was really the only scene that was the scene in the movie that almost brought me to tears. I mean,
It's like a triumphant moment.
and the thing about it was I loved. And, okay, I'll go geek out. Let's just geek out. This is what this is.
That's what
This
we're
is
doing.
geeking
We're
out.
geeking out.
And we do a good job of that sometimes, but not like this. Okay,
We're going
but
full.
it was completely satisfying when those portals opened and they came pouring out.
Yes.
The look on Thanos' face when he saw it, because what I loved about Thanos in this is in Infinity War you had this kind of this. Oh well, is he really that bad? Because he's being benevolent because he wants half the universe to survive and be in a better world. But in this one, and I think I think they went with it this way just to kind of make people get away from that a little bit. Maybe I've never seen anything on that, just my own personal opinion. But in this one, he's like, I'm gonna scrape the whole thing.
That's what he
off.
said. He said, I realized I made a mistake. I can't take away half the world because the other half's going to long for him. I'm just going to wipe you all out, and I'm just going to rebuild
Everything.
it myself, so
Scrape
they'll have
it off,
no
yeah.
memory of it. And so you're just like,
Well, okay, so for the first time in any of these movies, you actually, I'm gonna say it, you see evil right up there with the level of like Darth Vader and the Emperor to bring a Star Wars kind of thing. I mean, it seriously was, and that was it for me. So when
Red Skull.
Well, yeah, but Red Skull wasn't going to wipe out the entire universe, though. Like this, I mean, this was serious.
Well, he had
business.
the desire to do that, but I don't know if
Yeah.
he could have pulled it off.
He the thing about it is in these movies, Infinity War and Endgame, you kind of see Red Skull in this more, I don't want to say benevolent, but more kind of an amoral type position, to where he's just kind of like, hey, people are jumping off this cliff, and here's Soul Stone, go jump. So, just being able to see Thanos' look on his face when that happened was satisfying enough. But when Iron Man snaps his fingers and you see Ebony Maw just look down and in this terror disintegrate, I was like
almost reach out to Thanos.
Get you, man. That's what you get. And then Thanos looking around and just Josh Brolin sold it. I mean, completely sold that scene. And for him just to stand there, it's all done, just sits down and is just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, you get yours now, baby, don't you? You get yours.
So-
and I was totally sold into it. I mean, completely there with it.
So
Amazing
one
scene.
other thing I liked about this, and I don't want to dive back into Captain Marvel too much and our feelings on that.
She was good in this, though.
They did a good job of not making her save the day. Like,
Yeah.
because in the end, she's super powerful. She's stronger than all the other Avengers, but this wasn't her movie. This was not her build-up. This was all the other Avengers movies, and she just came in at the end.
Yeah, but even in this movie, though, I mean, she took on Thanos and
he
got
got-
handed. I mean,
yeah.
she got it handed to her.
So I was glad that it wasn't her that, and I just say that more in that because this wasn't her story, this was everybody else's story.
But wait, hold on. Let's talk about the real burning question of this movie. Where in the world is Loki? It's like Carmen Sandiego
That's
now.
the TV
Well,
series.
but
They're
see-
making the TV series.
But see, well, I don't want to get into the time
well,
paradox
no.
thing.
So
but-
let's do this, Aaron. If you could break down the time travel for us a little bit here.
Loki. That's all you guys say.
So whatever happened in the old movies happened. That is the prime timeline. But anytime they went back in time and changed anything, that splintered off into an alternate timeline. So anytime they changed anything whatsoever. So Captain America going back to being with Peggy, that created an alternate timeline. And then he used that little GPS unit time thingy to get back to the correct timeline to give the shield over.
okay,
And
but
that's how they kept returning.
okay, but here's my question: since we're going to jump into the
Sure.
time travel,
We're
thing.
going full everything.
Is Hulk made the comment that they had a conversation with the ancient one,
Mm-hmm.
and she was like, "No, you can't have it because you'll splinter time."
Make bridges.
Had bridges in time, and he's like, "No, if we return the stones to the exact moment in which we take them, there will be no splinters." Okay, thus there would be no alternate timelines.
if they didn't change anything.
But,
If they
Right.
did.
but according to their own rules set up by Hulk, you can't change your past because it's the present is your past when you go
So,
back in time.
You got to think about it. There is a prime timeline.
Yes, I agree.
That never changes.
I agree.
So when they're going back in the past, they're not affecting their timeline. They're affecting a alternate
Agreed.
timeline.
But here's my question.
Okay.
Here's the way it goes. Captain America goes back in time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
He jumps back in time and he sets the stones at the precise places that they would be so that there would be no splinters in the timeline, right? Correct? Is that what I'm that's the theory. Okay, so then when he comes back in time, and he pops back out as an 80-year-old geriatric guy
Yep.
sitting there on the bench. Okay, if that didn't affect any of the timeline, then
But-
he should have been. There should have been two Captain Americas there, because in reality, if he had not affected the timeline, there should have been a young Captain America there and the old Captain America. Due to the fact that the timeline never changed, therefore he would never have gone back and have married Peggy Carter. It would have stayed on the adjacent line. It would have stayed on the prime line, as it's being
Young
said.
Captain America left to go back in time, though.
Agreed. But if he went back and he didn't, and he put the stone back, and nothing changed on the prime line, then he should have been there as a young Captain America because he would have been brought out of the ice. If that's the case, then how come he could go fight himself in the past in New York in the Battle of New York?
You kind of lost me, to be honest. I'm not.
So what John's saying is like there's
Okay.
a scene when they're in New York.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah,
who
you
listens
go
to this
back-
just turn
you
this
But
go-
off.
they are making splinter timelines. Every time they're going back and changing something, it's making a splinter timeline.
What they're when they go back and
I
replace.
agree that the ancient
Okay.
one conversation is
Okay, but
confusing.
I don't have a problem with the splinter timeline thing. That's perfectly fine. I'm cool with that. But the problem with it is you can't have Ancient One have this conversation with Hulk, and Hulk's like, oh, no. We'll go back in time and we'll fix it all. There will be no splinter timelines if we put all the stones back exactly where we got them. Well, then you do that, but then at the very end of the movie, you come back and you go against your own rules of time travel, so Captain America be
I'm wondering
So-
though if there was something though, some point to it though, because Hulk could see where Cap was.
Yeah.
Because when he came back, he missed his mark.
Yeah, he misses time.
He
mark.
missed the mark. So I'm wondering is there something to do with missing the mark? Like did
So-
that?
Well, I guess it would go back to what happened with Ant-Man when he was a baby,
Yeah.
old and new.
I think that's part of the difference
came
of
time jumping back
as
and
Tony
forth.
said, did you put time through him or him through time? And maybe that's what it was. Maybe when Cap came through, he put time through himself to make him older. So it's the same one, but he aged himself because he knows.
But he got married.
But he got married. I got to do what Tony told me to do and go have a
so,
life.
So what you're saying is, and what because this is the reason I want to talk about this, because you got to help me
No,
out
it's
through
fine.
this, because this is the only part of it I couldn't put together.
Yeah.
Is okay. So if he did that, so that means he lived a life inside a splintered timeline,
Yep.
but then brought himself back to the prime line,
Through
sort of like Ant-Man did,
just to give him the shield.
just
as
to
an
give the
older
shit.
Ant-Man.
Yeah, because he's like, I'm done. Tony's gone.
Yeah.
I need to be gone.
Okay. Well, okay. It takes nothing, or it gives
No.
to me. It doesn't take anything away from the
Right.
awesomeness that it was the movie to begin with. It was just something that really stuck in me.
So here's my two quick thoughts about the timeline. So one, when they're taking the stones back, when they've taken the stones back, that's already it becomes automatically a splinter timeline, because it's not like they removed themselves from taking the stones in the first place. But when they're taking them back and bringing the stones back, they're making that splinter timeline mirror their timeline. So it's still splintered, but it's running parallel.
It's running parallel. Yeah.
So but because it's splintered no matter what, because they already went back.
Now,
there.
I like
But-
the now
but
what
the
go
one
ahead.
other thing. So I'm sorry, Charlie. We're the other thing is I think what Cap did is
WHS 11 didn't
he
explain this. did they?
he went back. He went back
I
and
think
he
even if I'd seen the movie, I'd still be flipping lost.
he went back.
Sick 'em, son.
He took all the stones back, and then he did his thing where he went back with Peggy, and that created that
He
splinter.
did
time.
what?
They got married.
Okay.
After marriage. He's the captain. He's all American. So he goes to be with
He knew his wife.
he goes back to be with Peggy, and then it creates this new splinter timeline that is now not parallel at all. And so there he's gone, and then he comes back because he still has the GPS thing. So he lives that life. He gets old. He comes back to have that moment because he knows they're going to be there, and he gives them the shit.
So he's completely selfish.
No, he's already lived his.
But they
his
set
sacrifice.
that. up in earlier in the movie when he goes back in time and he sees Peggy and he sees her through the window and he realizes everything he's given up to be a hero.
So-
And now he's going back and to live a normal life because he's done all these heroic things. He saved the world.
So
His job is
hang on.
over.
He's gone full Iron Man.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of confused, and I just need this to be clarified. At any point, did they need cookies? Because if they did, they could go to Bourbon Bakery. That's Bakery on Instagram.
They were eating tacos.
And she would either mail them to them, or they could pick them up from her. I'm just saying, is that something that could happen? Possibly.
It could have. But here's my thing. Here's my thing on Captain America. Oh, Mr. Captain America here and his heroics. So that means that he went back in time, knowing that Peggy had already been married and had a son, but he didn't care about that. He wanted her for himself. So her son was snuffed out of existence,
That's right.
and her poor husband,
Because
became an alcoholic under the London Bridge.
Because he went full Iron Man and was completely selfish. That's why he did this. We can start this debate if you'd like, sir.
Or
Brian's like, I'll take off this Ant-Man shirt right now.
but we also don't know what happened in his timeline as far as like, did he maybe even prevent some of the stuff like the great battles from ever happening because he already knew they were going to happen.
But then they wouldn't have all been sitting there on the beach.
That
Would have been dead.
So let me ask this question: when this Loki TV series comes out, will it be on Crappy Network TV?
No.
No.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. I'm sorry.
We actually discussed. That's
I'm
weird.
sorry.
You were in the building. Last night on Crappy Network TV, we were talking about how we would probably adding shows from Disney Plus
Yes.
Really?
to Crap, even though it's not network and won't be crappy. Still, we will definitely be discussing The Mandalorian because, as we've discussed earlier, Carla is like Captain America, Iron Man sacrificed himself, so he's the best of them.
Mm-hmm.
She is the best of us when it comes to nerdery. So, yeah.
Well, let me just say something about that. The Iron Man sacrifice at the end when he says that, he looks at Thanos, he goes, "I'm Iron Man."
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew it was coming because Doctor Strange turns around, looks at him, and his points one.
Man.
I was like,
The
no,
Doctor Strange
no,
scene.
this can't happen. I had my Iron Man hat off, ringing it. I was like, no.
And I'm like,
and he's
oh,
like,
look
I'm
at
Iron
here.
Man. Boom. And the thing about it was that it was such, even in his death, though, even with Iron Man dying here, I'm patting my Iron Man helmet here, it was so incredibly satisfying to have seen the character development from Iron Man 1
Yep.
all the way to this point, to be somebody who was so self-absorbed and just kind of did this because I'm doing it, to really being the ultimate hero.
Yeah.
And that was big for me. Unlike Captain America, who went back and stole somebody else's wife. Okay?
Hey,
So
he did what Tony told him to do.
A couple last
Following
thoughts.
the example. That's all I'm going to say.
They did. They switched themselves in some ways. So I mean, it was satisfying in that. But when you become a parent, and I might be being selfish and saying this completely wrong, it changed my emotions. And anytime I see a loss of a parent or a loss of a kid in something, it always gets me.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew as soon as Tony died, and then they played that hologram for her, and he says, I love you times 3,000 or whatever. And it's just, that's heart melting to me. And then happy with, I'll get you all the cheeseburgers you want.
If something could have been changed in it,
Yeah.
if you could have changed anything, what I would have changed I would have changed Tony Stark's death and Captain America's. I would have had, because Captain America being stronger, to have Tony Stark ever to do it, and Captain America's like, no, I'll do it.
But I think that's what
'Cause
you
you got a kid,
That's
you
what
know.
you expected.
Boom. I know that, but that's me and my
Right.
wanting Tony. That's my selfishness
You're
wanting
being-
to see
you're being
Iron
Iron
Man
Man.
to
You're being
continue.
Iron Man,
Yeah.
100%.
And so, I mean, that's the way I would have had that. And then it would have been like, you could still have the Falcon thing with the shield.
Yeah.
Tony Stark would have been like, hey, he wanted you to have this, while Bucky stands there like, oh, I was going to be Iron Captain America. But he didn't get a chance.
Exactly how
No,
Bucky talks.
I'll be with you to the end of the line, baby, until it comes to becoming Captain America. Then I'm going to give it to Falcon.
Because you can't polish my boots on.
So let's do this. Kind of some final thoughts about the movie, the Marvel experience.
I just got to Texas.
It takes a minute to get to Texas. And so let me first off say thank you to Charlie, who has not seen the movie, for sticking with us and hanging out and going through this, because I know you didn't have to be here. You didn't have to listen to all this, but I appreciate it.
Oh, no, John told me I was out of the podcast. So I didn't know.
Did not.
But so kind of final thoughts. Charles like, I don't got to be here. Okay. All right. Brian, let's start with you. Just some final thoughts on it.
I mean, I thought it was a great movie. I thought at the end, what I really thought was going to happen was that Tony's daughter was going to find some secret room or something where it would be all of the suits of armor that he had put somewhere there at the lodge, or she was going to come out with her own Iron Man helmet. It's kind of a way to keep that going. But I mean, I thought it in general, the movie was everything I'd been waiting for. And like I said, I thought they wrapped up everything really well. I loved the whole thing with Loki and like, oh, look, I'm an opportunist. Here's the cube.
It's amazing.
Boom. And then it's like, great, he continued. You know, that's going to continue. But I was kind of wondering if we were going to see him pop up somewhere in the movie.
I would have liked to have.
Just a little, you know.
Wink,
but
wink, nod.
Otherwise, I mean, no complaints at all about it. I thought it was great.
All right, Aaron, thoughts?
If you just put Infinity War and Endgame by themselves, you know, this was a decent sequel to Infinity War, but as the finale to a 22 movie series, it's just incredible. All the stuff they reference, from Thor to Dark World to Captain America to Guardians of the Galaxy, so many references to the other movies. It was just, that script is just amazing. That's just really well done.
But what about the references to Blade? Because if it wasn't for Blade, we wouldn't have this movie.
It's true, we wouldn't. I agree
Well,
with you.
it's you could say Ronan's blade was the ode to Blade.
Brian,
Did
or
it like
John,
pop open and cut somebody's hand off?
blew
I
off-
think not.
it blew off Ronan's hand.
It did. He couldn't even handle it.
John?
I don't think that anybody. I mean, if you grew up in our generation of people, I don't believe anybody who.
Aaron, what are you doing?
All of us who are older and have
He's making baskets. He's weaving baskets. Let him have his piece.
all of us who grew up in a pre superhero movie world. I mean, I'm talking about the 80s and the 90s, and those movies were crap for the most part. I think that we have and I'm not saying we're so owed in this, but to me it was really not only a great movie, but you could really see where it was going to be the end of an era. And I think that's what created a greater impact in me than anything else, because it's been a 10-year romp. I mean, it's been just amazing. And I think they're going to have another 10 amazing years. I don't think, to be honest, me and Carla were talking about this on the way home.
I know what you're going to say.
I don't think they're going to be able to recapture the magic of it. I think the movies from this point forward will be good. They'll make a lot of money because that's what
Right.
they'll do. But I believe that this truly marks maybe the end of the golden age of superhero movies.
Yeah.
I think we'll be moving into more like a silver age of hero movies from this point forward. I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I got some distance from it. You all helped me clear up none of the things I wanted to clear up about the Captain America thing. But I'm good with that. Like I said, that doesn't change the movie for me. I'm not going to allow the last 10 minutes. Oh, shocked! I hate this movie. That's not what I wanted to do with it, because it deserves more than that. Anybody who says this movie was terrible is just a jerk. I mean, I just don't
I
think
didn't
that's
say
good.
it. I haven't seen it yet.
He hadn't seen it. I mean, why is everybody looking at Charlie? He
I
hadn't seen
wasn't
it.
looking at you.
Well, because I said that Infinity War was.
Well, and me and you and kind of agreed to disagree with Brian and Tim on Infinity War. I liked it, but it wasn't the be all end all to me. This was good.
What I think's funny is that John had the opposite reaction to this film as he has every other movie that he sees. Every other movie, it's like, it's the greatest movie ever made.
He had the process.
And then it was like,
Well, it was a matter of processing, because it was a lot going on. I mean, there's a lot going on, and
You about made me lose my mind when you said it was no Last Jedi.
Brian-
I about
Brian-
lost my.
I was being stupid.
So, let me go ahead.
hypothetically speaking, if anyone happens to know of a way that I can see Infinity
I
or
got a guy.
Endgame in my house without using Coty, because I don't want to use that, I would be willing to maybe buy you some cookies from Bourbon Bakery. We'll see if we can.
So my two final thoughts. One, I agree with John. If they never made another Marvel movie after this,
Piracy is not a victimless crime.
if they never made another Marvel movie after this, I feel satisfied with the ending. Like, I'm okay with it. I want to see where they're going to go with it, but at the same time, like, this was a satisfying end.
Yeah.
And my final thought, and let me say it before maybe I'm attacked or whatever, because this is how I feel about it. I'm not comparing. So I love Star Wars. I grew up on Star Wars, grew up on Star Wars toys, grew up on Star Wars movies. But when Return of the Jedi came out, I was 2 years old. So I didn't get to experience Jedi. And I didn't get to experience any of the Star Wars movies besides the reruns of them when they came out later. To me, this experience and seeing the finality of this movie, this was my Star Wars moment for me. That's what it was for
I
me.
can understand
It was
that, yeah.
it was this experience of me growing up watching these movies and getting to see the satisfying ending on the screen. And so that's what it felt like to me. And not to take away from my love of Star Wars, because I'm excited about possible Ewoks in the next movie, but just the fact that like I left that movie just like that was perfect. I loved it. So let us know your thoughts about Marvel's Endgame. We loved it. We hope you loved it as well. Charlie, where can they catch us?
Well, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Facebook, not
Or-
Instagram, but you can find Bourbon Bakery there.
But they can also find us at the Bourbon Bakery.
Well, not yet, but possibly. We might work
Yeah.
out some sort of thing.
We're going on a field trip.
Let us know your thoughts on Endgame.
Live from the Bourbon Bakery.
We'd love to hear it. As always, I am sorry, Brent.
I'll see you later, players.
Aaron.
Hey guys, I've got some really cool flow charts about time travel. I really want you to check them out.
No, that was in my
Gonna
shower
clear
this
some
week.
stuff up.
Now look right here, John. As he's
No,
wearing
no.
as he's wearing his red
He's got
shorts
his red shorts on.
in the shower with.
No, that's not what I meant. No.
Clean it up.